Hey, I'm coming at you today with a bit of a more serious tone and a little bit of a departure from the normal pop culture stuff that we cover, as this may impact the ability to do so in the future. So we start things off with the fact that Christopher F. Rufo, self-described activist, has located a federal grant that has been provided to the University of Washington in Seattle. This grant is active. It's been approved. Funds have been provided. Therefore, the work is underway. So what are they working on, you ask? Well, this is going to chill you to the bone. So Christopher released this in a tweet. However, I found the actual grant itself on the government website. It's got a much clearer text, and I'm going to have it up on the screen in case I read along a little bit faster, or if you just want to have this seared into your cranium, because it has the potential to undo quite a bit. Here it is. Language Technologies Against the Language of Social Discrimination. This award is funded in whole or in part under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. So just to clarify, this has been funded to the amount of $132,300 so far. It is scheduled to go till 2027. It's a 5-year plan, at which point they expect to collect about $550,000. So those are the numbers. What are they doing with that money? Buckle up. It's about to get frightening. Here is their statement. The exponential growth of online social platforms provides an unprecedented source of equal opportunities for access, expert, and crowd wisdom for finding education, employment, and friendships. Sounds innocent enough. One key root cause that can deeply impede these experiences is the exposure to implicit social bias. All right, I'm not sure how grant process works. Apparently, nobody actually reviews these things. I guess if it's just written well. They have just made a statement that a social bias exists without a shred of proof. Not one. Now, you can make the argument you should need to have proof in order to get that kind of money. They don't. But they're not going to stop there. The risk is high since biases are pernicious and pervasive, and it has been well established that language is a primary means through which stereotypes and prejudice are communicated and perpetuated. Not a shred of proof. However, I'm willing to agree with them. Curiously enough, they did not mention that language is also the primary vehicle through which open discussion, learning, compromise, understanding also is pervasive and perpetrated. So you seem key to point out the bad without acknowledging the good. I wonder why that is. This project develops language technologies to detect and intervene in the language of social discrimination, sexist, racist, homophobic, microaggression, condensation, objectification, dehumanizing metaphors, and the like, which can be unconscious and unintentional, but cause prolonged personal and professional harm. That is 1984 level of disturbing and horrific invasion into the lives of potentially every human being on the planet. In that very poorly structured and run-on sentence, they are stating their desire to create a software AI that finds, quote, objectionable, I guess is the best way to use it, unquote, language based on their criteria. Think about that for a moment. This is not done out of altruistic means. This is also nonsensical, but we'll go into details on those finer points as they attempt to bring them up. The laundry list of problems with this statement is unreal. The language of social discrimination. So here's a good question right off the bat. I'm going to operate on the idea that these people are saying that it's terrible to discriminate against black people. Okay, why are they so happy and celebratory about discriminating against white people? Are they going to make the AI racist? Because that's what discrimination against white people is, whether you like to admit it or not. Homophobic microaggressions. Microaggressions are the most insanely and ridiculous thing to come out of the woke mob in quite some time, and they are, of course, quite proud of it. A microaggression is absolutely anything they want it to be. So how do you program an AI to determine microaggressions when they're absolutely anything that the woke mob wants them to be. Dehumanizing metaphors. Since it is an AI, it is a computer, I'm curious if it deals in literals. That is to say, if I say that someone is a bitch, an argument can be made that that's not the worst insult in the world and probably shouldn't be censored, but I'm actually calling someone a female dog. That's not a human. It is a metaphor. Is that a dehumanizing metaphor? Then the real next level horror begins, which can be unconscious and unintentional. So they are going to operate on the idea that absolutely everything said is bad. Because otherwise, how could you say that something was unintentional or unconscious? If I didn't intend to say it or say something bad, the only way for you to operate on the idea that I am is if you assume that I am. You see where this is going? So it continues. The program opens up new research opportunities with implications to natural language processing, machine learning, data science, and computational social science. It develops new web-scale algorithms to automatically detect implicit and disguised toxicity, as well as hate speech and abusive language online. Another full stop, as we have to basically accept and understand that they are designing this to seek out all social media posts and censor it. That's it. Plain and simple. This is censorship. This is censorship from the standpoint of disguised toxicity. What is that? Clearly define for me, first of all, toxicity, and then second of all, disguised. Again, this has been a second or third time that this has been put into this document. They are operating on the idea that something is already there. They are going to find it whether it's there or not. You can't say if something's disguised or not. Think about that. Then, hate speech and abusive language. Without question, there is a slam dunk on hate speech, but it's based on where you live. You see, great perfect example. If I were to walk around the streets of almost any city in the United States of America, dare I say every single city in the United States of America, walk up to a white man or woman and yell, "You dirty packy," at them in the year 2023, they would look at me like I'm a raving lunatic. If I am in England, oh, that takes on a very different context. That's hate speech. So hate speech is now contextualized to where you are, what time frame it is, who it's directed at, because on the flip side, if I'm in America in 2023 and a Pakistani individual is standing in front of me and I yell, "You dirty packy," then it is hate speech. But this is supposed to be done on social media posts. So how does it know who you're talking to? Well, guess what? You're talking to everyone. You are simultaneously talking to a white person and a Pakistani person. So, ergo, "You dirty packy" must be hate speech. Again, you see, this is the pattern. Censorship. They are censoring everything. This is unbelievable. Successful completion of the program will pave the ground for a paradigm shift in existing ways for monitoring civility in cyberspace, shielding vulnerable populations from discrimination and aggression, and reducing the mental load of platform moderators. Oh, this is going to be a paradigm shift, all right, but not in the way that you're thinking. Because here's the other thing that I haven't brought up yet. This is the ultimate. These wackadoodle idiots that are woke mob morons don't understand there is only one logical conclusion and end to what they're doing, and that's it censoring them. That's the only conclusion you can come to. You are setting up your model, what you think is that it will protect this group and that group and remove hate speech and remove biases, blah, 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 blah. But you're going to get caught up in that web. And do you know why? Because by the very fact of you doing this and writing this has exposed your unconscious bias. So it doesn't matter how good you're programming. If your AI works, it is going to censor the people that created it. That's the ultimate rub. That's the ultimate insult. And that's the one thing these morons can't figure out. Well, we still are going. Therefore, this project can benefit and empower a dramatic number of individuals, representatives of disadvantaged groups discriminated by gender, race, age, sexual orientation, ethnicity, who use social media or AI technologies built upon user-generated content. Again, they just have to beat home that it isn't enough that most, if not all, of what they listed are, in the United States of America, federally protected groups that you cannot discriminate against. That's not enough for them. They're going to make a program scours the web and deletes all things that it finds objectionable. Unbelievable. Finally, the educational curriculum developed by this program will equip future technologists with theoretical and practical tools for building ethical AI and will substantially promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in STEM education, helping to foster a new, more diverse generation of researchers entering AI. Okay, here's the news flash for you morons that you've been told over and over again, that statistics have shown you over and over again, that real life numbers have shown you over and over again. There are people on this planet, and yes, most of them are women, and yes, most of them are minority, have zero interest whatsoever in STEM fields. Period. End of story. You can look up 1,000 books, papers, doctorate degree dissertations, whatever you want to call it, that have proven this scientifically. It is not a bad thing. It is reality, and you cannot change that. You cannot force that. Removing all of this alleged hate speech and all this if your little wonder AI here works, it will not get young women interested in STEM. Period. End of story. That has been proven time and time again. Why can't you get this through your thick skulls? The overreaching goal of this career project is to develop lightly supervised, interpretable machine learning approaches grounded in social psychology and causal reasoning to detect implicit social bias in written discourse and narrative text. I've already recapped all this. They do drop one nice little bomb here that they will be using social psychology and causal reasoning. Well, guess what? Those things change. And yes, your AI, I'm sure, can be made to adjust to that, but here's the ultimate question. It really lends itself, and it gets pretty deep in the woods on how AIs operate and everything like that, but what happens when you introduce a contradictory concept to what the AI has already learned? And it depends upon the type of AI. Again, it's geeky tech stuff. But in theory, good AI should have issues. But they're not going to address that part. More specifically, the first phase of the project develops algorithms and models for identifying and explaining gendered microaggressions in short comments on social media, first unsupervisedly, then with active learning, given limited supervision by trained annotators. So they've got their $132,000. They're off and running. And the first thing that they're going to do is train this thing to look for gendered microaggressions specifically. What does that mean? Yes, it's exactly what you thought it was. It means pronouns. That's it. They're going to write a stupid program to try to figure out if someone isn't using pronouns. That's it. That's where it starts. It provides transformative solutions to making existing over-parameterized black box neural networks more robust and more interpretable. Since microaggressions are often implicit, it also develops approaches to generate explanations to the microaggression detector's decisions. So they admit that microaggression means anything, and they're going to build this thing to provide justification for why it thinks that's a microaggression, which is an interesting move, all part of machine learning. They will use that not to teach it that it's wrong, but instead to teach it that it's wrong because it didn't catch a microaggression. You see how that's done? Subtle, but important. In the second phase, the project addresses the challenging task of detecting biased framing about members of the LGBTQ community in narrative domains of digital media and develops data analytic tools by operationalizing across languages well-established social psychological theories. Any further questions? Next up, it's going to be finding all the hate that's spewed against the LGBTQ community because it's, again, assuming that that exists. Wow. The expected outcomes of this 5-year program include new data sets, algorithms, and models that provide people-centered text analytics and pinpoint and explain potentially biased framings across languages, data domains, and social contexts. Okay, the last part there just sort of recaps what they hope to gain for this, which is basically a very powerful tool for them to censor speech. This is a free speech censorship tool being developed by radical woke activists to curtail anything that they deem bad. That's it. Anything that they don't like, they want to now actively ban, and they are harvesting one of the more powerful things that humanity has ever created in AI to do the job for them. I have very little more to say because I've said it all as I read this. I know that you might be wondering, what on earth are you covering this for? This isn't Star Wars or pop culture. But here is the reason why. This is going to radically affect all of pop culture if it becomes a reality, or dare I say, when it becomes a reality. You are seeing the infant stages of it with the studios buying reviews, the studios offering and withdrawing access based on good reviews, with the constant and unending social media barrage of TV shows, movies, comic books that state, if you are not for this, then you are some sort of ist. Homophobic, racist, misogynistic, transphobic, some istrophobic. Again, all done to try to pressure you into liking bad product and bad pop culture. This is going to force you to. But beyond that, and this is the real problem, pop culture can only survive and thrive in the wild. That is to say that if this comes in to be a reality, and I'm a studio executive, and I have to make a project, or I'm a TV executive, and I know that that project is just in the slightest little way going to challenge people, make them upset. And I know that there's an AI out there that's going to scrub everything that has to do with my project because of it. I'm simply not going to make the project. It's a guaranteed money loser for me. So now I will make absolutely nothing but the most bland, boring, inoffensive, and in line with whatever that AI wants, instead of something interesting, unique, different, or, God forbid, challenging. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me on what is clearly a video I don't normally do, but it is so important and so unbelievable that I wanted to get this out there in my own small little tiny way. Let me know what you guys think. This one got me concerned. Obey your king. Subscribe to the channel and click the notification icon.